Questions. Good morning, everyone. Let me start with a simple question. How many of you have ever said something and immediately wished you had a remote control to rewind it? Exactly. We all have questions. Because the truth is, your mouth can build your future or burn it down in 10 seconds. Today, I want to talk about something very simple, very ordinary, but extremely powerful. Questions. Train your mouth to talk, not your degree, not your taluks, your mouth. There was once a man who said, "Sir, I speak whatever comes to my mind." Very honest fellow. Questions. But after some time, he lost friends, he lost opportunities, he lost respect. Then he said, "Why is the world so negative?" No, my friend. The world is not negative. Your mouth is untrained. See, questions. Even a dog is trained before it is allowed in public places. But humans say, "I am like this only." That sentence has destroyed more lives than failure ever has. Questions. Words are not free. We think words are free. They are not. Words have interest. You pay later. Questions. One careless sentence can ruin a relationship. One arrogant sentence can close a door forever. One negative sentence can weaken your own confidence. That's why ancient wisdom says, speak less. Questions. Observe more. Because your mouth should be your employee, not your boss. Have you heard the toothpaste story? A teacher once asked a student to squeeze toothpaste out of the tube. Then she said, questions. No, put it back. Were impossible, words are the same. Once spoken, they cannot be taken back. That's why maturity is not about age. Maturity is about pause. Untrained mouth speaks fast. Questions. Trained mouth thinks first. Why most people fail in life? Most people think failure comes from lack of money, lack of opportunity, lack of support. But very often, failure comes from loose language. Questions. Talking too much, complaining too much, reacting too quickly, explaining too much. Remember this line, you don't need to say everything you know. You need to know everything you say. Questions. There was a monk who was insulted badly by someone in public. Everyone waited for his reply. He smiled and stayed silent. Later someone asked, "Why didn't you respond?" He said, questions. If someone comes to give you a gift and you don't accept it, who does it belong to? The insult stayed with the giver. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a trained mouth showing strength. Questions. Your mouth shapes your identity. People don't remember your intentions, your struggles, your explanations. They remember your tone, your words, your reactions. You may have a good heart. Questions. But if your mouth is sharp, people will bleed. That's why self-development is incomplete without speech discipline. Questions. 3 types of people. People who speak to impress, they exhaust everyone. People who speak to express, they reveal themselves. People who speak to uplift, they are remembered forever. Train your mouth to be the 3rd type. Questions. Before you speak, ask this. Before you open your mouth, ask 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it fails even one test, swallow it. Your throat won't show questions, but your future might. Never reply when you are angry, you are hurt, you are emotional. Draft it. Save it. Sleep on it. A trained mouth knows timing matters more than truth. Questions. Train your mouth daily. Training doesn't happen in seminars. It happens in daily life. Questions. When someone provokes you, when you want to complain, when ego wants to speak, when silence feels uncomfortable, that's the gym. Every time you choose calm over chaos, your mouth gets stronger. Questions. When people attend your funeral one day, don't worry, not today, they won't say, he spoke a lot. They will say, questions, he spoke with kindness, but she made people feel safe. His words gave me confidence. That is real success. Closing message, train your mouth because questions. Words create reputation. Reputation creates opportunity. Opportunity creates destiny. Your mouth is not just for talking. It is for creating impact. So speak less, mean more. Pause more, react less. Questions. In daily life, most problems don't begin with bad intentions. They begin with an untrained mouth. Think about it. How many times have you said something like questions? I didn't mean it that way. I just came out. I was angry, so I said it. These sentences are so common that we treat them like normal excuses. But if you look closely, questions, they all point to one thing: the mouth spoke faster than the mind could guide it. An impulsive mouth is like a wild horse, powerful, yes, but dangerous if not controlled. A trained mouth, questions, on the other hand, is like a well-driven car. It may not be the fastest, but it takes you safely and far. In daily life, questions, we often admire people who speak their mind, but we rarely look at the damage they leave behind. Honesty without wisdom is not courage, it is carelessness. Imagine a simple situation at home. Questions. A mother works all day, comes back tired, and the child says, "You never have time for me." The child didn't plan to hurt her, but the impulsive words did. Questions. Or think of a husband who says to his wife in frustration, "You always do this." That one word, always, turns a small issue into a permanent label. Questions. Relationships don't break because of big fights, they break because of small, repeated, untrained words. At the workplace, this becomes even more critical. A manager says, questions, "This is useless," instead of saying, "This needs improvement." Same message, completely different impact. One crushes confidence, the other builds growth. Questions. An untrained mouth focuses on releasing emotion. A trained mouth focuses on creating outcomes. Successful people are not silent because they have nothing to say. Questions. They are selective because they understand the cost of words. Even in traffic, you can see the difference. Someone cuts your lane, and the impulse is to shout, abuse, react. But what actually changes? Questions. Nothing, except your blood pressure. A trained mouth asks, "Is this worth my peace?" Most of the time, the answer is no. Training your mouth doesn't mean suppressing yourself. Questions. It means choosing peace over poison. One of the biggest myths is that training your mouth means becoming fake. No, it means becoming responsible. Questions. Just like we train our body to be healthy and our mind to be strong, the mouth also needs discipline. We don't eat everything we see, even if we are hungry. Then why do we speak everything we feel? Questions. Even when we are emotional, think about how you talk to yourself. This is the most ignored daily life example. When you fail, do you say, "I am useless"? Or do you say, "I made a mistake"? Questions. I can learn. The mouth hears what it speaks. Over time, your words become your beliefs. An impulsive mouth turns temporary failure into permanent self-doubt. Questions. A trained mouth turns failure into feedback. Parents often say, "Children don't listen." But children listen very carefully to how you speak. If anger is your default language, they learn anger. Questions. If sarcasm is your style, they inherit sarcasm. Training your mouth is not only for you, it is a gift to everyone around you. Your words set the emotional temperature of your environment. Questions. There is a simple but powerful pause between thought and speech. That pause is where training lives. Impulsive people eliminate the pause. Mature people protect it. Questions. Even 2 seconds of silence can save years of regret. Most apologies in life exist only because that pause was ignored. Notice people you respect deeply. They don't speak loudly, unnecessarily, questions, or constantly. Their words have weight because they don't throw them around casually. When they speak, people listen, not because they are dominant, but because they are deliberate. Questions. That is the power of a trained mouth. Training your mouth is daily practice. It shows up when you choose calm over clever replies. It shows up when you don't forward that negative message. Questions. It shows up when you listen fully instead of preparing your next argument. Slowly, people start feeling safe around you. And that safety becomes your silent influence. In the end, questions. An impulsive mouth may give temporary satisfaction, but a trained mouth gives long-term respect. And respect opens doors that talent alone cannot. Questions. Most people think words disappear the moment they are spoken. The sound fades, the moment passes, and life moves on. But that is one of the biggest misunderstandings of human life. Questions. Words do not disappear, they settle. They settle in memories, in hearts, in relationships, and sometimes in wounds that never fully heal. Actions may create situations. Questions. But words create stories. And stories live for a very long time. Think about your childhood for a moment. You may not remember every toy you played with or every meal you ate, but chances are. Questions. You remember certain sentences very clearly. Maybe someone once told you, "You're not good enough," or "You'll never succeed," or on the positive side. Questions. "I believe in you." Those words may have been spoken casually, maybe even without much thought, but they stayed. That is long-term consequence. The speaker moved on. Questions. But the listener carried it for years. In daily life, we underestimate how permanent words can be. A parent says to a child during anger, "You are useless." The anger lasts 5 minutes. Questions. The sentence can last a lifetime. The child may grow up, get educated, earn well, but somewhere inside that one sentence keeps whispering. Questions. Maybe they were right. Words have a strange power. They don't need repetition to be effective. Sometimes one sentence is enough. In relationships. Questions. Long-term consequences of words are even more visible. During arguments, people often say things they don't truly mean, believing that an apology later will fix everything. Questions. But apologies repair behavior, not memory. When you tell someone, "You never understand me," or "I regret being with you," the relationship may continue. Questions. But it never returns to the same innocence. A crack forms. You may paint over it, but the wall remembers. At the workplace, words build or break careers silently. A boss who once says, "Questions. You are unreliable," may forget it the next day, but the employee starts working with fear. Confidence drops, creativity shrinks, performance suffers. Later, the same boss wonders. Questions. Why is this person not growing? Words spoken in authority positions carry compound interest. Over time, they multiply their effect. Even among friends, careless words leave fingerprints. Questions. A joke made at someone's expense may get laughter in the moment, but embarrassment stays with the person long after the laughter ends. You might say, "Questions. I was just joking," but the heart doesn't understand disclaimers. It only understands how it felt in that moment. What makes words dangerous is not volume, it is timing. Words spoken during emotional moments, anger, jealousy, frustration, have the strongest long-term impact. Why? Because emotions lower defenses. The heart is open, raw, unguarded. Questions. Words spoken then go straight in without filters. That is why a single harsh sentence during a vulnerable moment can outweigh 100 kind sentences spoken later. Questions. Words also have long-term consequences on how people see you. People may forget your achievements, but they rarely forget how you made them feel. If your words often carry negativity, sarcasm, superiority, people may smile at you but distance themselves emotionally. Opportunities quietly disappear. Invitations reduce. Trust weakens. Questions. And you may never know why. Because words work silently over time. Even self-talk follows the same rule. The words you say to yourself every day shape your future identity. Questions. Saying "I'm bad at this" repeatedly doesn't describe a situation, it programs a belief. Over months and years, that belief becomes behavior. Behavior becomes habit. Habit becomes destiny. Questions. No one else may hear those words, but their long-term consequences define your life. On the positive side, words can also heal for decades. A teacher saying, "Questions. You have potential," can change the direction of a student's life. A friend saying, "I'm with you," during a tough phase can become a lifelong source of strength. Questions. Sometimes people survive difficult years not because life was easy, but because one sentence kept them standing. The tragedy is that we often become careless with the most powerful tool we possess: questions. We protect our money, our phone, our reputation, but we throw words around freely. We forget that every sentence is like planting a seed. Some seeds grow into trust, confidence, and connection. Questions. Others grow into resentment, fear, and distance. And once planted, seeds don't disappear easily. Understanding that words carry long-term consequences makes you slower, softer, and wiser. Questions. You start choosing words not only for today's relief, but for tomorrow's relationship. You stop asking, "What do I want to say?" and start asking questions. What will this create? That shift alone can change the quality of your life. In the end, words are like arrows. Once released, they follow their path. You may regret shooting their questions, but you cannot pull them back. That is why conscious people speak less but with more care. They know that while moments pass, words stay. Questions. In a world that rewards noise, silence often looks like weakness. We are surrounded by people who speak fast, react instantly, and express every thought as if it were urgent. Questions. Social media teaches us that if you don't respond, you lose. If you don't react, you appear small. But real life teaches a very different lesson. Silence, when chosen consciously, is not emptiness. Questions. It is intelligence in action. Think about daily arguments. Most conflicts don't start because the issue is big. They start because both sides want the last word. One sentence triggers another. Questions. And suddenly a small misunderstanding turns into a full-blown fight. Now imagine if one person chose silence, not out of fear but out of clarity. The argument would lose few. Questions. Silence does what shouting never can. It stops escalation. We often confuse silence with suppression. But silence is not about swallowing emotions. It is about processing them. Questions. When someone insults you, the impulsive reaction is to defend yourself immediately. But immediate reactions are usually emotional, not intelligent. Silence gives you time to understand. Questions. Is this worth my energy? Is this person speaking from truth or from their own pain? That pause is wisdom. Look at people you admire in daily life. They are rarely the loudest in the room. Questions. They speak when necessary, not when emotional. Their silence makes their words valuable. When they finally say something, people listen, because they know it comes from thought, not impulse. Questions. Silence creates gravity. In families, silence can be a powerful healer. During heated moments, words spoken in anger often leave scars. Silence, on the other hand, allows emotions to cool down. Questions. A parent who pauses instead of shouting teaches emotional maturity without saying a word. Children learn that not every feeling needs to be expressed immediately. That lesson stays for life. At work. Questions. Silence can protect your reputation. Meetings are full of people talking to be noticed. But intelligent professionals know when to stay quiet, observe and understand the room. Questions. Speaking without clarity can make you look unprepared. Silence gives you time to gather insight. Often, the person who speaks last, but with clarity, leaves the strongest impression. Questions. Silence also exposes truth. When you stop talking, you start listening. You notice body language, tone, intention. You realize that many people speak not to communicate, but to release pressure. Questions. By staying silent, you allow others to reveal who they truly are. That information is priceless. In friendships, silence prevents regret. A sarcastic reply may feel satisfying in the moment. Questions. But silence preserves dignity. Later, when emotions settle, relationships remain intact. Many lifelong friendships survive not because people always agreed, but because they knew when to be quiet. Questions. Silence is also deeply connected to self-respect. When you respond to every provocation, you give others control over your emotions. Silence takes that power back. It says, questions. You don't decide my reaction. That inner stability is a sign of emotional intelligence. Even with yourself, silence matters. We fill our minds with constant noise. Complaints, worries, questions, overthinking. Silence allows reflection. It creates space for clarity. Many answers you seek don't come from more thinking, but from quiet observation. Silence doesn't mean you never speak questions. It means you choose your moments. It means you understand that not every truth needs to be spoken immediately, and not every battle needs to be fought. Questions. Some doors close permanently because of words spoken too early. Silence keeps possibilities open. In difficult situations, silence is often misunderstood. People may think you are weak, indifferent, questions, or defeated. But those who understand depth know that silence often comes from strength. It takes courage to not react. It takes intelligence to pause when ego wants to shout. Over time, questions. Practicing silence changes your life. Your words become sharper, kinder, and more impactful. Your presence becomes calmer. People feel safe around you. And you begin to realize something powerful. Questions. Peace is not found in winning arguments, but in knowing when they are not worth your voice. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is the highest form of it. Questions. One of the biggest misunderstandings of modern life is the belief that every thought we have must be expressed. Questions. We have been taught to be real. Say what you feel and never hold back. While honesty is important, wisdom lies in understanding that thoughts are visitors, not commands. Questions. Just because a thought enters your mind does not mean it deserves a microphone. Think about how many thoughts pass through your mind in a single day. Some are kind, some are fearful, some are jealous. Questions. Some are angry, and some are simply unnecessary. If you spoke every thought out loud, people would avoid you. Not because you are bad, but because you are unfiltered. Questions. Maturity begins the day you realize that filtering thoughts is not hypocrisy, it is intelligence. In daily life, we experience this constantly. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Questions. And 1,000 thoughts rush in. If you speak them all, you ruin your mood, your energy, and maybe your entire day. But if you let the thought pass without giving it a voice, life continues peacefully. Questions. The situation did not change, but your experience of it did. That is power. At home, not every irritation needs to be announced. Your family members are not villains, they are humans with habits. Questions. When you say every critical thought out loud, you always do this wrong, you never listen, why are you like this? You slowly poison the atmosphere. Love doesn't die suddenly. Questions. It suffocates under constant unnecessary commentary. Silence in such moments becomes protection for relationships. At work, unspoken thoughts can save careers. Questions. You may think your colleague is inefficient or your boss is unfair. The thought may even be true. But speaking it impulsively can damage trust, reputation, and opportunity. Questions. Wise people understand that timing, tone, and intention matter more than truth alone. Not every truth needs immediate expression. Some need maturity to be delivered. Questions. And some need silence to be preserved. Social media has made this even harder. We are encouraged to share opinions instantly, react publicly, and comment on everything. Questions. But just because you have an opinion does not mean the world needs to hear it. Many people damage their peace, image, and relationships by voicing thoughts that would have disappeared if left unspoken. Questions. A thought given silence often dies. A thought given words becomes permanent. Even humor needs filtering. Many jokes are simply unprocessed thoughts disguised as comedy. They may get laughter. Questions. But they also leave bruises. Saying, "I was just joking," does not erase the impact. A kind person thinks twice before turning someone else into entertainment. Questions. Wisdom is knowing that laughter is not worth someone's self-respect. The most important place this rule applies is in self-talk. You may think, questions, "I'm not good enough, I always mess things up," or "others are better than me." These thoughts arise naturally, especially during failure. Questions. But when you give them a voice, either aloud or repeatedly in your mind, you turn temporary emotions into permanent beliefs. Not every thought about yourself is true. Questions. And not every negative thought deserves repetition. Children are especially affected by this. When adults speak every frustrated thought in front of them, children absorb it as truth. Questions. A careless sentence spoken during stress can become a child's inner voice for years. That is why responsible adults choose words carefully, knowing that silence is sometimes more loving than speech. Questions. There is also peace in not explaining everything. Many people feel the need to justify, defend, or clarify every thought. But over-explaining often weakens your position. Questions. Calm confidence doesn't require constant verbal proof. Sometimes letting a thought remain unspoken preserves dignity and strength. Questions. Learning to let thoughts pass without expression is a daily practice. It doesn't mean you suppress important conversations. It means you differentiate between what is necessary and what is noise. Questions. Ask yourself, will this help? Will this heal? Will this matter tomorrow? If the answer is no, let the thought go. People who master this skill appear calm, balanced, and emotionally mature. Questions. Their words carry weight because they don't waste them. When they speak, it is intentional. When they stay silent, it is peaceful. Over time, they build trust. Questions. Because others know that their words are considered, not careless. Not every thought deserves a voice, but every thought deserves awareness. When you observe your thoughts without obeying them, questions, you gain freedom. And that freedom reflects in your speech, your relationships, and your inner peace. Questions. One of the hardest lessons to learn in life is that being right at the wrong time can be worse than being wrong. We grow up believing that truth automatically has value. Questions. That correctness guarantees respect. But real life quietly teaches us something deeper. Truth without timing often becomes cruelty. And correctness without sensitivity often becomes conflict. Questions. Think about daily conversations. A friend shares a failure, feeling low and disappointed. At that moment, you may see exactly where they went wrong. You may even be absolutely right. But if you say, questions, I told you so, or you should have listened to me, what happens? Your truth adds weight to their pain. The timing destroys the message. The same advice, if shared later with empathy, questions, could heal instead of hurt. At home, timing decides whether words become medicine or poison. A parent correcting a child in front of others may be factually correct, but emotionally damaging. Questions. The child doesn't remember the lesson, they remember the embarrassment. A trained and wise person waits for the right moment. When emotions are calm, when dignity is protected, questions, the truth remains the same, but the result changes completely. In relationships, timing is everything. During an argument, both people may be saying true things. Questions, but truth spoken in anger feels like attack. That is why many couples say, we fight about small things, but it becomes big. It doesn't become big because the issue grows. Questions. It becomes big because the timing is wrong. Speaking when emotions are high is like pouring water into boiling oil, explosive. At the workplace, timing separates professionals from amateurs. Questions. Correcting a colleague publicly may make you right, but it makes the other person defensive. Correcting them privately builds respect. A good leader knows when to speak, when to wait. Questions, and when silence will allow learning to happen naturally. Being right once may satisfy ego. Being wise consistently builds authority. Even in traffic or public places, timing decides peace. Questions. Reacting immediately to provocation feels justified, but it rarely improves the situation. Waiting a few seconds often makes the issue disappear. Most problems don't need solutions. Questions. They need time to dissolve. Timing allows that. Timing also matters in giving advice. Advice given before someone is ready feels like control. Advice given after they ask feels like support. Questions. Many people lose influence not because their advice is bad, but because it is premature. Wisdom waits until the heart is open. With children, timing shapes character. Questions. Scolding a child when they are crying teaches fear. Teaching them when they are calm teaches understanding. The lesson doesn't change, but the learning does. Timing turns discipline into guidance. Questions. Even self-criticism follows this rule. Being harsh on yourself during failure weakens you. Reflecting calmly later strengthens you. Questions. The same truth, I need to improve, can either break confidence or build growth, depending on timing. Social media ignores timing completely. People comment instantly, judge instantly. Questions. React instantly. That is why misunderstandings are common. Face-to-face life rewards patience. Waiting to respond often results in better words. Or sometimes, questions, the realization that no response is needed. There is also humility in timing. Waiting to speak shows respect for others' emotional states. It shows you value connection more than proving a point. Questions. People may forget your argument, but they remember how safe they felt with you. Being right feeds the ego. Timing feeds relationships. And relationships matter more than winning debates. Questions. A wise person doesn't ask, am I correct? They ask, is this the right moment? That question alone can prevent years of regret. Over time, practicing good timing makes life smoother. Questions. Conflicts reduce, respect increases, people listen more, and you discover a powerful truth. Wisdom is not about speaking the truth loudly, it is about delivering it when it can be received. Questions. Timing doesn't dilute truth, it protects it.